What we need to do is put the final detail in over on the end here. And this is where our exhaust is going to come out. Now, you can try cutting it if you want, just do that. You'll notice the cut works better in some places than it does in others. It's sometimes with 3D Studio Max, I think it's a sense of luck more than anything. But this is going to be the area where we create our first exhaust from, and then we're going to have another one on the other side, obviously due to symmetry. Exhaust would indicate steam or petrol driven, which is rather worrying considering the actual content. So, just insert it, and I'm going to squeeze this along like that. There we go. Makes this nice big thing here. And what I'm going to do this time is extrude it out like that. And I want to do a little extrude on both edges here and here, just a tiny one at 0.001, and just bring that down and extrude out twice. There we go. I'm going to zoom by selected objects just so that I've got slightly more control over my model, and I want to select by vertex and push these vertexes here and here in. There we go. There, we're starting to get a nicer shape now. We can only assume this is something important to do with the whole exhaust system. Who knows? Okay, so here, obviously the reason that we do our small extrude is so that we don't end up with that shape, which is a pretty shape, but it's not what we want. So let's do a minor extrude inwards, extrude by minus 0.001, in we go, and click OK. Then we're going to do a mesh smooth, and there we've got a nice shape. Now, just going to click grow, and then there, take these bits here, and I'm going to do a hinge from edge. Pick our hinge, we're going to pick this one. Ew, wrong hinge. Let's just undo that, click cancel. Hinge from edge, ooh, deselect that one. Pick hinge, we want this hinge, there we are. Let's check we're getting a good shape here. It's certainly a very novel and original shape, isn't it? Now then, have a look at the... You can put as many segments as you want in, just remember you're the guy who's going to have to render this, or girl of course. So, there, put 3 segments in. Click OK. And I think what I'll do is, if I select all the polygons here, there we go, and I'm just going to compress it on the X, and that's brought that bit out as well, so it's up to you if you want to push that bit in. I'm just going to click on this. There we go. Now select the edges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And let's pull back a bit. Now if we extrude, just push this pipe up like that. Okay, there. And there's a rather exciting and bizarre use of an exhaust pipe. And I think what I'll do is just to add some exciting feature to the model. Just use an insert on this. Bring it in. I can scale this bit in completely just using the X and Y on here. And I'm going to do an extrude of minus 0.001 and click OK. Then a mesh smooth, and we can extrude it out by about 160, like that, and click OK. And I'm just going to move this down a bit. There we go, move that down. check that. Now if you remember, I did this thing where I used a reference piece over there to make that tube. I'm going to do the same over here. Give us a rather amusing kind of shape, really. So shift, drag, and I'm just dragging it up to there. Click OK. And so I'm going to select these top pieces here. And I'm just going to rotate around a little bit. Obviously you can tell that there's a hinge from edge in the air. It's one of my favourite ways of making quick and dirty details, you know. And let's just ramp up those segments a bit. Click OK. And we'll get this to intersect just using a simple extrude drag. Wait till the little cursor changes to what you see there, from there, and just drag it out until it intersects. And then delete the ends. There we go. It is a miracle. It did intersect. And remember, get rid of the mad floating polygon. People will just get confused. Move back. And I suppose the final thing we should do over here then, and no, I'm not going to put brake lights on it, even though yes, that would be quite funny actually, is just do an inset, but not by polygon, by group. Click OK. And just do a negative extrude this time, with a lot less segments. Click OK, and select now by line 1, 2. We can bring those in. Oops, wrong lines. There we go. Okay, and we'll put some final useless pointless detail in here as well. So let's get some. Oh, why not? We'll have some more cylinders. Everyone loves cylinders. Can you get enough cylinders? Heck, I can't. Just make them intersect. There we go. Just zoom extents by that object there. And oh look, there's a gap at the top. So just change the height until that is not an issue anymore. Yet again, I have no idea what these do. I'm sure they're highly sensitive critical components though, that even if they get hit with a pebble will cause the entire object to stop working. And as I mentioned before, that is the nature of sci-fi. I think I'll make 3 copies. There we go, that fitted quite nicely. So, time to do the attaching bit. So, I'm just going to attach these fellas in. There we go. Press H, make sure we've got no loose bits we don't need, and click cancel. Okay, so it's about time to start adding the symmetry modifier. We also need to add the bit that's going to connect the tail into place. So the hinge for the tail is going to be from here. Well, not a hinge, it's more of a barrel that it connects to. Kind of an axle. So, yet again, I'm going to do a quick extrude. And I'm going to use a quick scale on it, just to get it scaled to a box shape. There are more accurate ways of doing this, but as I've said before, I mean, this tutorial I'm limited to a certain amount of hours. And really delving into the details of how I make an exact box, which would be interesting obviously to people who are very methodical and possibly anally retentive, it's not really something that you want to cover in an exciting tutorial. I know that from experience of what I've been doing a lot of, people really tend to prefer making -0.001 an object as soon as they possibly can, something they can go and show their mum and kind of justify the expense of buying the student version of 3D Studio Max. And that's what we aim to do. So grow. There we are. And extrude that, and then shrink it, and we're going to extrude it again. And here is an interesting bit. We're only going to extrude it until the boundary changes. once the boundary starts to change, like that, delete the end polygons, and it's time to kick in a symmetry modifier. So you just press an S to fast path through the entire list, and as we see, the symmetry modifier is eager to be working with us today. It wants to be our friend, obviously. So if you look, everything's actually in the correct place, which is nothing short of surprising, but our symmetry might have been a little bit of an overlap on the last one, so it's important we check and get this bit right. So let's unhide by name, and we're going to unhide the chassis part 1. So now what we can do is zoom in a bit and just make sure that this piece is going to fit in with everything else that we've built. So just rotate round, make sure there's no mad edges sticking out where there shouldn't be. You know the drill by now, I've done it a few times. Okay, so that's looking cool. So it's time to collapse that stack. So pin the stack, show end result, go to symmetry here, right click, collapse all. And there, look. Fab. Next piece then, we'll just attach this. I'm just going to convert this to an editable poly. And this piece here will attach and no longer be a temporary. And there we go. So now our tail unit connector with the rear axle is in place, and we're starting to approach the point where we're getting near, well, we've passed the halfway mark now for creating our model. Now press F4 so you don't have to see the lines. It also moves a lot faster. Obviously the legs fit onto this, and I think we're starting to get towards the point now where it's useful if you can see where the legs actually are. So I'm going to unhide them. So I'm going to go to our little telly screen here and click unhide all, and there's our leg we created at first over there on that side. So what I'm going to do is just rotate it so it's in the right position. Remember, this is a very arachnid kind of robot. Zoom extents all. So what we're going to make sure is, in the left viewport here, that the legs are round about nice and low here, as you can see. Okay, now moving to the top viewport so I can see what I'm doing, and I'm going to select the entire bally leg, gosh darn it, and just click and drag. I'm pressing shift obviously to drag them into the right place. I'll make 2 copies, and what I'll do is I'm going to shift and drag this one all the way over here. There we go. Okay, and turn that one off. Now then we need to mirror all these fellas here. Now I'm not recommending that you go ahead and start building all these legs now. You'll want to do this near the end, and possibly also use display as box to save yourself a hell of a lot of processing time. The reason I'm doing this now is so that you can see kind of where we're up to. It'll also give you a nice model obviously to look at. So I'm going to do a copy. And we're going to want to offset this over here, so I'll just click OK and just click and drag actually. Come on leggies, all the way down here. All the way down here, that's it. Now this is why I said that it's helpful if you've got like a really mad, insane 3D workstation. I wouldn't like to have done this on my old Pentium 1.3 or whatever the heck it was. Okay, so now you can see the kind of object that we're working with here, and it's starting to look pretty nice as well. I'm just going to turn the legs around because ironically I've got them back to front now. There we are, that's better. So now you can see the front's going to go on there. At the back here's where the tail's going to go. Obviously the legs aren't going to be straight like this. They're going to be more like that. So there we go, just move those out into a more realistic kind of shape. Funnily enough, it's not too difficult to recreate the path of an insect movement cycle, so hopefully PJ, our resident animations guru, won't have too much of a heart attack when I present the model to him and tell him he's got 2 days. So now you can see now how the model's coming together. This is all the parts that you'll have created if you'll have followed the tutorial by now. I mean, already you have a pretty good base. You could stop watching the tutorials now and probably, as long as you picked up what I've been doing, build your own design pretty easily. I mean, by all means finish watching the tutorial, because we're going to move on to some pretty cool stuff, especially the animation. But if you came this far, I think you can be pleased with yourself and go and make yourself a cup of tea or coffee right now. And until you've finished drinking your tea and coffee, I'll see you next time. And thanks for watching. Bye bye.